This is how you fix the blinking red light on your Nintendo Entertainment System. Everything I use in this video will be linked in the description. We start by removing these 3 screws and these 3 screws. Going to be using a Phillips screwdriver. We do need something with a long shank to get down to the screws. Most toolkits do not have this, but I'll link one in the description that'll work good. Okay, and with those screws removed, then we can remove this top cover, just like that. Then we need to remove this metal plate. We've got 7 screws holding the RF shield down. With those screws out, this shield just lifts off. Then that reveals the cartridge slot. We've got 6 screws holding the cartridge slot down. Some Nintendo Entertainment Systems have slightly different numbers of screws in the cartridge slot, so if yours is different, that's probably why. Make sure and pay attention to which screws go where on reassembly. The long screws go right in here. Once that's done, we can move this way and then lift up on it while we pull it forward. Just like that. We're almost down to the 72-pin connector, and this is what we need to work on. Now we just need to remove this screw and this screw. And with those removed, we can lift up the board just enough to push this 72-pin slot this way. It's pretty hard to push because the pins are really strong on how they grip the board. We just go back and forth, one side and then the other, until we get it loose. And now we have our 72-pin removed. Now let's move over to the microscope so I can show you how to fix these pins and fix the red blinking light. So here's our 72-pin connector, and we're taking a look at each one of these pins. Now what causes a blinking red light on the NES is a pin like this. You can see this one pin is pushed down a lot more than the pins around it. So what we actually need to do is come in with a metal dental pick, bend that back up, and let's go a little bit more. There we go. And now that looks like all the other pins in this 72-pin connector. Now let's keep looking, see if there are any more. Oh yeah, so this one is really bent. You're normally not gonna find them this bent. This is pretty extreme. You do wanna be careful not to break that off, but in the event that you do, it really doesn't matter. And normally that's not even a problem. The problem is that this pin is bent down so far. So I'm actually going to use a smaller dental pick to get in here and bend it back up. And you can see I broke off a little more of this spacer here. Again, that's fine. Just make sure it's out of the way and it's not stuck down there anywhere or anything. Okay, all the rest of the pins look fine. We want to double check the pins on the bottom as well. All of those pins look fine. So the other thing we need to do while we're in here is give these pins a good cleaning. Now most of the time, all you have to do is use a little bit of deoxit and put it on each one of these pins. Just a little bit, doesn't need a lot. And it doesn't matter, you don't have to clean this all off or anything. This is actually fine if there's a little bit of a film on here. And it actually is kind of good because it will help clean the games you put in here as well. So that's fine. Now, if there's excessive corrosion and just too much gunk on these pins, the way that I like to clean that is using some very fine sandpaper. This is 1000 grit, and if you fold it just right, you can actually fit it right down in there and kind of go in and out on each of the pins. And that's a way you can clean off really heavy corrosion. Now I don't recommend this unless it's absolutely necessary because it can eventually eat away the coating on these pins. But you can see how each of those has been cleaned now. And then when I'm done with that, I go through with the deoxit and add the deoxit. Just a thin coating, just like that. Now for the pins that connect to the motherboard, these pins down here, I will usually go and put a thin layer of deoxit on these, but these usually aren't the pins causing the problem. It's almost always just these pins up here. Now, while we're in here, I do actually like to clean these pins. I'm gonna come through with just a cotton bud and some isopropyl alcohol and just rub these pins really well. And you can actually see the Q-tip is getting pretty dirty from that. So it's actually good that I'm cleaning these on this specific system. Now, it is good to also clean the pins on the other side. At this point, you can actually remove the whole board with the bottom metal plate and turn it upside down. We can pull the plate off. We don't want to pull too hard because all of these connectors are connected. If you want to just remove these connectors so you can just mess with the plate and the board easily, then certainly do that. But you don't have to for this specific job if you don't want to. We can just move the metal plate out of the way, and then we can get to these pins right here. Okay, and with that done, we can snap the metal plate back into place, install the board back into the shell, just like that. Now this part is actually pretty tricky because these pins are really tight. So we need to line it up and then just push it on there. And it takes quite a bit of force to get it all the way on there, but there we have it. And now with the 72 pin back connected how it should be, first we need a screw here and a screw over here. With those screws in, we can put the game slot back in. Now the trick is moving this back piece back here, but also this little lip right here needs to go under the board. So we need to slide this back in just enough for this to be able to get pushed down just right there. And then we can push the whole front down and slide it back. Now we can install the screws. Again, the longer screws go right in these two holes, and the shorter screws go in the other holes. And now with the hardest part done, we can reinstall the RF shield. Now one thing I want to mention about this 72 pin is one of the popular ways of repairing these is to boil them in boiling water for a few minutes. And I think that might help, but I've also found that sometimes it doesn't. The method that I just showed basically works every time. The only time it doesn't work is if there's actually cracked or broken pins, which is super rare, but it can happen. So while you can use the boiling method, it's not quite as foolproof as this method. And with that done, it's time to reinstall the top shell. Just super easy. We just put it in place, wiggle it around to make sure it's in the correct place. And then we just drop the screws in the holes and tighten them up. The things that I like to do if I'm screwing screws into plastic is actually turn my screwdriver the opposite way, turning it counterclockwise until I hear a click. Just like that, and then I can turn it clockwise and tighten it up. That tells me that the screw threads are in the screw groove that's already in the plastic. If you don't do that, you risk stripping out the plastic. It doesn't happen a lot, but it certainly can happen. And now with all of those screws tightened, we've fixed the blinking red light on our NES, and we can play the greatest game of all time, Super Mario Bros. 3.